is MLK Day or whatever the case may be, I will be saving him and all of his friends and basically the entire civil rights movement, you understand, for Black History Month. You know what I'm saying? So I'll probably, do 1 week dedicated to, Orgy Mike and all of his sexual escapades. And the rest of the month, I'll probably talk about, you understand, actual Black history. You understand? Like I may or may not, revisit the Lowry gang. General Mahyman did an excellent breakdown on that. You understand? Also, what I want to get into is different things that happen inside of Black history. Like, for example, you understand, a lot of people don't know about the Harlem Hellfighters. You understand? Which is a regiment, you understand, of composed of all brothers who were heroes, you understand, in World War I. I'll probably get into, I'm saying, a couple of different things as far as, unfortunately, men who were great warriors but fighting for the wrong cause. You get what I'm saying? Fighting for America rather than, brothers as well. Like, a lot of people don't know this. There was Ephraimites or so-called Puerto Ricans rather, you understand, who were inside the Tuskegee Airmen experiment. You understand? So there's a lot of different things that I want to, touch base on. But in the meantime, today is going to be an introduction to the Dark Ages. You understand? In future months to come, I'll also be doing a breakdown on basically really in depth with the Dark Ages. Like, I'll probably do a whole month of nothing but Dark Ages. Like, 1 week through Germany, another week through Spain, so on and so forth, because it's a lot of history to get into. You know what I'm saying? But, like, literally too much, you know what I'm saying, to get involved in. So today will be basically a introduction. You might hear some of this information repeated later on, but the main thing that I want to get into is a little bit of a history on King James, who he was, that he was in fact a Black man, so on and so forth. Now, before I get directly into that history, one thing that I want you to know is that King James's complexion is really irrelevant. Right. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by it's irrelevant, it has absolutely nothing to do with the translation itself. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't matter if he was purple, if he was Asian. What matters is this text, you understand, translated properly or not? And we know that the King James version was, first of all, the King James is the most accurate word-for-word translation from the Hebrew and Greek. You understand? There's something called a Bible continuum where you'll be able to go and you'll look up every single Bible and it will explain which one is diluted or which one has the purest translation. Now, of course, this is also why we also study Hebrew, you understand, and look into the Greek as well, so that this way we'd be able to understand the scriptures better than what they be. You lose something when you get to English. You understand? So as far as King James race, it has nothing to do, you understand, with the actual text itself. You understand? But the truth of the matter is that he is a Black man. He was a brother. He was from the tribe of Judah. You understand? He was an Israelite. And so was Constantine. You understand? So was many men throughout history. Now, how do we know? Anybody have a copy of Babylon and Timbuktu in here? That's the only book that I left. But okay. 70 AD. You understand? They collapsed. You have it? No, it's not in there. Okay. You understand? 70 AD is when Jerusalem was collapsed. You understand? Meaning that Rome went and waged war on Jerusalem. As a result, once again, remember, America is the continuation of the Roman Empire. What they did was they minted a coin. For the people at home, y'all should be able to see this. This is known as the Judea Capta. You understand? Which means Judea or Jerusalem captured. They commemorated this event of when they destroyed Jerusalem. Those who were lucky enough, you understand, or blessed enough, whatever you want to call it, you understand, we don't believe in luck, you understand, but those who listened to Yahushua and foresaw of the warning, they left before the city was laid siege. Those who weren't lucky enough were taken into Roman slave markets. When we got into these Roman slave markets, we were the gladiators. You understand? They found out about, they would go through our record. They would know that we're the Jews. And they would be seeing that we would get thrown in lion pits. And they want to see if we get eaten or not. They saw that Samson was able to kill a lion with his bare hands. You understand? So we were in there battling. We were enslaved. We joined their military because when Rome conquered a nation, they would require a certain amount of, they would levy. So you understand? Basically meaning they would issue a levy that certain people would have to join into the military. You understand? And give a certain amount of service for any nation that they conquered. So Rome's actual military at that time was multicultural, depending on the nation that they were at, who would be the majority. You understand? So now, I don't know if y'all want to see this as well. Ibadja, come up, grab this. You can pass this around. That's the Judea captive coin. So now, as time went on, we rose up through the ranks. You can just leave the bag right here, unless you have something in it. So we started to rise through the ranks. As we started to rise through the ranks, you understand, just like today, there's black generals in America. America is a white supremacist land, but even going all the way back to the Battle of Bunker Hill, you understand, there was brothers there. There was two brothers riding with Paul Revere, screaming that the British were coming, the British are coming. Why am I saying that? Because we like to make history too black and too white. You understand, when Colin Powell was in the presidential cabinet in the Bush administration, Condoleezza Rice was as well. So to think that a black or Hispanic can't rise and, you understand, into politics inside these empires would be foolish. So around 193 AD, what took place was there was an overthrow inside of the Roman government. And there was two generals, you understand? One by the name of Servius Septimus. This is who the month of September is named after. And the other Priscinius Niger. Now, if y'all know anything, what was the apostles called? Good?
Niger.
Niger. N-I-G-E-R. Well, that's what this brother's name is. You understand? This brother's name is Priscinius Niger. Y'all can take a look right here. N-I-G-E-R. What does that word mean? Sure.
It's Latin for black.
It's Latin for black. You understand? And if you actually take a look at him, you could clearly see he's got Negro features. You understand? Now, why is this important? This was the start of the Dark Ages. This is when Servius Septimus and Priscinius Niger took over Rome. And now, he went and he was called the rival emperor in the East. Why was he the rival emperor in the East? Because Rome was split into an East and a Western part. You have your hand up? On topic.
Yes, concept. Can I get like a timeline? Like, what would you say this happened around what?
This is no, nowhere near that. I said 193.
Okay, 193.
This is 193 AD. Servius Septimus and Priscinius Niger were both ruling at the same time. Rome was fractured. The Rome that we think of today is one solid empire. You understand? Rome was fractured. Just like, for example, America was fractured at one time. That's why there was a civil war. Well, Rome and Europe at this time was a nonstop barrage of civil war and a quest for power, especially in the West, especially in Rome, in Florence and Naples and all those areas around there in the Baltic Sea and all that. You understand? So now, this is also why I hate history. Because now we know his name is Priscinius Niger. Or Niger, whichever word you prefer. We know Niger means black. Listen to what the hell they have to say about him. You understand? It says, his face was defined and always ruddy. Ruddy not meaning red, of course. You understand? Ruddy meaning fair. You understand? Ruddy does not mean red, especially in this context and in this time frame. Ruddy only became red and fair only became white way after, you understand, the Renaissance period, which was a whitewashing era. So what happened is that it says his face was always ruddy. His neck was so black that according to what many say, he got the name Niger from that. So his neck was so black that that's what they say he got the name Niger from. Okay?
I was saying with that next sentence it defines. So how can his face be different than what his neck is?
Right. How can it? But now check this out. This is where you understand. This is another thing. There's no bones in the Bible. There's bones inside historical text. You understand? Right. Outside of the Bible. Why? I'm going to give you one. It says the rest of his body being white and rather fat. How could your neck be so black, but the rest of your body is going to be white? You understand? What happens to a white man in the South? His neck.
It barely turns red.
It turns red, which is why we call them rednecks. A black man's neck is not going to turn red. So these are some of the lies that they put inside of these books in order to throw people off. So what you start to see is that this was the start of the Dark Ages. You understand? So what were we doing there in the first place? We were there because we got taken into captivity under the Romans after 70 AD, those that couldn't flee into Africa. Then after we built up a reputation of being able to fight and we got inside their military, we overthrew it. By the way, this book is the Roman Emperors. You understand? Y'all can take a look at that if y'all want to get it at home. By Michael Grant. Now, I will forewarn every single one of you. This book, I got this book and it's a first edition for $5 after shipping. You understand? Y'all going to want to jump on this ASAP. Because as soon as we start bringing out these books, the prices skyrocket. You understand? Good.
The author's name again?
The author's name is Michael Grant. All right. So now, y'all think I'm lying? Go price this book. Tell me how much this book is going to be worth. This book is worth $3,000 to $7,000. You understand? You know how much it was when I came in the truth? $90. Why is it worth so much? Well, let's find out. It's worth so much because this is a book of Russian icons. You understand? Now, what are Russian icons? I'm going to read it directly from the book in order to give you a better context. So now, it says icons existed not only as panel paintings, but also as frescoes and wall mosaics, meaning these were beautiful works of art that were on the walls. They could have been in multiple different fashions, you understand? And it says some of which have emerged from layers of whitewash. Why were these layers of whitewash? Because of the Renaissance era. What we're about to get into is the Dark Ages. The Renaissance started, you understand, really the whitewashing era that I'm trying to talk about started in the late 15th century. You understand? Meaning after 1453. Why? Because that was when Constantinople was sacked. Why is Constantinople so important? Okay, good.
Because we were in rulership in Constantinople.
We were in rulership in Constantinople. Why? Because those same, you understand, black Roman generals who became emperors of Rome, they continued to conquer and set up their people to the point where Constantine was a black man. He was a black emperor who ruled around the circle. I'm gonna give you the circle year around 300 AD. You understand? Good.
I don't know if you said this earlier when I was gone, but Constantinople was the most proper side of the Roman Empire.
Absolutely. You understand? And I'm gonna get into all of that in a moment. The first thing that I want to do is, hold on one second. Go ahead.
One thing I've always been curious about, I haven't been able to connect. Now I know what's it called, the actual Black Saint Nick is based in Russia. I know we have a lot of icons there because we at some point ruled Russia and we're there. But do you know specifically when that was or what time period that is?
It was during the Byzantine expansion period when we started going into Russia. What you want to do is you want to look up certain cities like Novgorod and so on and so forth. And this is why when you go throughout Russia and you look at the roofs of all their architecture, what does it look like? It looks like Middle Eastern architecture. Why? Because we were the Jews from the Middle East who expanded, you understand, into all these different areas and territory, and we would use the same building skills and techniques in order to build these areas up.
I'm sorry, Joe. I believe I had seen somewhere that Constantine had made frequent stops, like in homes in Rome and Moscow. This is the same Constantine.
You understand? It absolutely was, because we would go and expand into these territories. Because if you look, okay, Constantine, okay, so now we go from 193 AD. There's a whole bunch of different civil wars. We're taking over, we're expanding. Constantine comes in around 300 AD. Now, just so y'all know, this is a Russian icon of Constantine and his mother Helena. Those look like white people? I don't think so. You understand? You want to pass this around? Good. Bring it back, though. I got some things I got to go through in there.
Yeah, that definitely is.
So now, yeah, Johanna?
Yeah, I don't know where to begin, but I had over 10,000 questions. I'm a little slow because I have an accident, a brain accident. My question is, in Revelation, it says, don't add nothing, don't take away nothing. And you said about King James that when he wrote the Bible and
He didn't write the Bible, he translated
He
it.
translated it, and they took out the Apocrypha, then I was told the Apocrypha is part of it. Since I came back in the truth, I don't want to fall again. I want to know how can we prove that the Apocrypha is part of the Bible, and the Catholics removed it in 1609 when they finished it in 1611.
Okay, I'll keep it real simple.
And I know we're talking about history today. When will be a good day to ask my questions? Because I have like over 10,000 questions. I wrote them down.
You could ask the questions any day, particularly today. This is going to be a little bit more of a lecture. So like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you could definitely ask your questions. I will answer your question because it's on topic. This is the King James Version of the Bible, 1611, with the Apocrypha built in. You want to know the proof that the Apocrypha is supposed to be there? Yahweh celebrated the Feast of Dedications.
Right.
Where's the only place you can find the Feast of Dedications? During the Maccabees. Where is the Maccabees contained, or the history of the Maccabees? Inside the Apocrypha. Done deal. If Yahweh followed it, we follow it. That's it. Very simple. You understand now? The reason as to why the Catholic Church would remove it is because not only does it prove that the white man is the devil inside the Apocrypha, but it's also the treasure map to where the lost tribes of Israel went. And they've been trying. Listen, let me explain something to you. The Catholic Church does not want to prove that who the lost tribes of Israel are, because then they can't be the church anymore.
That's right.
You understand? That takes away all their validity. So now, getting back into this. So, the Roman Catholic Church started with Constantine. Constantine adopted different pagan beliefs, you understand, did not rewrite the scriptures, but instead, for example, you understand, they would go and they would take their feast of Saturnalia, they would change it from the worship of Saturn to just worshiping Christ. You understand? Now, is Christmas in the Bible? No, it became a tradition of man that they would push forward. You understand? So now, Constantine was a black man. He moved the capital of Rome over to the Eastern Empire. You understand? Meaning Byzantine, which today would be modern day Turkey and Istanbul. This was the capital and location of the Byzantine Empire. You understand? So now, there's something else. I wish I would have been able to pull it up today. I might be able to get it on my phone and then put it on camera. So Constantine starts ruling, time goes on, his descendants keep ruling, every single one of them that sit on the throne. 1453 AD, the Ottoman Turks. These were devils who were conquered and converted into Islam. They went and they sacked Constantinople. When they sacked Constantinople, this was the beginning of the end of the Dark Ages. Did you hear?
My question was about really Islam and Ishmael really specifically. What was the Byzantine, like Byzantine's dealings with Islam? Or the rise?
We were at war with them constantly. It was an entire that's what the entire what the hell is it called? Crusades. That's what all the Crusades were about. The Crusades started with Byzantium wanting to take back all the land that they lost through the Islamic conquest. And that's all that it was. It was a fight back and forth, who was going to take Jerusalem, who lost Jerusalem, who would take these lands, who would rule these lands. You understand? All in the meantime, while you had two different Christendoms fighting, you understand, pretending they were aiding each other, all trying to get their hands on the same land. Because there was a Western church and there was an Eastern church. We ruled the West, we ruled the East, the West was fractured. You understand? And eventually the West was completely taken over by Esau. You understand? And then eventually they ended up taking over the Byzantine, and that started in 1453. You understand? So now, once again, I don't want to get too into Islam and nothing that I'm going to break a lot of this down. You understand? So if you don't have a question specifically on what I'm speaking, hold it, because I don't want to get thrown off, because I don't know if you see I have 20 books up here. All right? So now, with that being stated, so Constantine, a black man, as I showed you, a Russian icon with him and his mother depicted as a black man and black woman, you understand? They moved it to Constantinople. We were ruling in Constantinople. We fought a continuous amount of wars, you understand? Also, we fought wars with the Western side strictly over these icons. And that's why these icons were still in Russia, because we would go and we would hide them in monasteries because they wanted us to destroy these icons. They couldn't picture worshiping a black Christ. Now, why do I say that Christ is black, the disciples are black, so on and so forth? Because not only is it in the scriptures, but before the Renaissance, which was a whitewashing era, where they whitewashed all these images. Y'all see that? That's a black man right there with an afro. You look at that, you look to the left and right of Christ, you'll see black men. Okay?
And to add more fuel to that fact, if Christ was a white man, and that is the image of Christ, why is his robe white and not him?
Well, okay. His robe would be white because that's a picture of the transfiguration, and white could also be pure. You understand? When they say something is pure as snow. So your clothing doesn't have anything to do with it. A white man could wear a white robe, a black man could wear a white robe. Now, not only that, but they also have other disciples, such as Peter, being portrayed as a black man with wool-like hair. So these were all the images that were around during these time periods. What happened to them? They were whitewashed. You understand? Along with, and I'm going to show you them actually caught in the act whitewashing. You look over here, as you stated before, this right here is St. Nicholas. You understand? St. Nicholas is where you get Santa Claus from. Why? St. Nicholas worked inside a monastery, you understand, and orphanages all throughout Russia. And what he would do is he had a system where if the kids behaved, he brought them gifts. So that's how they kept the kids in order. Eventually, they adopted him into the church. He became Santa Claus, and you understand, the rest is history. So now what happens is they turn around, and remember, it said that these Russian icons emerged from whitewash. This is the Orthodox Church whitewashing images. You see this picture right here? There is a black Christ in the background, but they're turning that woman white. And these are them repainting and remodeling every single one of these images.
When I was in prison, an Israelite told me that an Israelite created the Russian language. And if that's true, how can I find this information?
That I'd have to get back to you on. You know what I'm saying? As far as the linguistics of Russia, I couldn't tell you, but I can tell you we did rule certain areas of Russia. But as far as the history of the linguistics of that language, that's not something I can tell you. Understand? So now, this is what ended up happening. So they would take an image like this, where you can clearly see that these are brothers. And it would turn into this. Y'all can clearly see the difference. You understand? So now, when did that take place? That took place during the Renaissance. The Renaissance was a rebirth of white rulership inside of the earth. You understand? And all of this took place, like when you go and you do history, right? What you'll find out is that most of these wars that were fought at this time was fought between the western and the eastern part, or between the white side and the black side. Once again, we were ruling Byzantium, the east side. They had a stronger foothold on the west side. That's what the whole Great Schism was about. You understand? Like the entire Great Schism was literally about the west side wanting to destroy all those black images. You understand? And then our people fighting to hold on to them. So what they'll call it is iconoclastic controversy. You understand? Where they went to war over these images. You can also look this up as the war between the Neri and the Galapi. Neri meaning black, Galapi meaning white. And this is the battle that took place between the Great Schism. Once again, just like Constantinople was overthrown, you understand, so was the Neri. And as a result, the church, or the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, became basically white. Yeah, Johanna?
So you said the, what was it, iconoclastic or classic?
Iconoclastic.
Iconoclastic, okay.
You understand?
Iconoclastic, what was the last one?
Controversy.
Controversy.
You understand? So this is them battling over these icons, and that's why they were stashed in Russia. They were stashed inside these monasteries, some even behind walls and stuff, until eventually even the Orthodox Church was changed. You understand? And then once again, they wanted to hold on to the traditions of what they were doing over in the East. Today, the Eastern Orthodox would be known as the Greek Orthodox.
Right.
You understand why? Because the Byzantine Empire spoke Greek. You understand? Because it was Rome. Rome, what language did they speak? They spoke Latin if you were in the upper class, and they spoke Greek. You understand? And this is why the majority of the manuscripts which came out of the Byzantine Empire were Greek. You understand? And that's why this is another thing y'all got to pay attention to. The Byzantine Empire only recently really became known as Byzantium or the Byzantine Empire. When Constantine was ruling, he was Rome.
Right.
You understand? When his descendants were ruling, they were Rome. Now, there's something else that y'all can look up as well. I'm going to try to get this image for you. I wanted to blow it up on this screen. I can't connect it to this laptop. There's something called the Moldavia Monastery. You understand? I'm going to try to get the correct spelling for you. Now, in this monastery, there are paintings. And these paintings will literally contain this is, I'm going to try to show you, it's in Romania. Once again, this is one of the Byzantine Empire's territories. So now there's a painting that you can see of Constantinople being sacked. Now, why is this so important? Because when you look at this painting, on one side you're going to see the Ottoman Turks coming to attack the castle. They're all white men on horses. In the castle, you're going to see Constantine's great-great-great-great-great-grandson. He's a black man with woolly hair wearing the crown along with all other black men in the castle. I wish I could blow this image up for you a little better. I don't know if y'all gonna be able to see that. That's a brother inside the castle. I'll pass this around to y'all. This is a brother inside the castle wearing that crown. And if you see the extension of that picture, you'll see white Ottoman Turks charging at the tower. This is the Moldavia Monastery in Romania. Now, once again, if you want to say Constantine's not a black man, then why are his descendants being painted as black men? I'll try to get a better picture for y'all in the future weeks. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, the proof that all of them were black, I don't know why people are trying to prove it. I mean, it's self-explanatory. Because when I was 6 years old, I told my mom, they're telling the truth. I remember that. And she even told me, I'm like, Mom, they're telling the truth. And I was 6 years old. Now that Jesus Christ is black, they're all black.
Well, I'll tell you what the problem is. It's because of all the images being whitewashed. You understand? It's because of, you understand? So once again, I wanted y'all to see this, wanted y'all to see the castle, so on and so forth, to now explain that we started to lose Rome. Now, we were still ruling other areas. Those men that were ruling the Byzantine expanded their conquest. And they went and conquered France. They went and conquered, the hell is it called? Germany. They went and conquered. They were the original Anglo-Saxons. So that's what I want to get into now. What I want to get into now is, because most of this class, I want to talk about King James, Scotland, so on and so forth. I just wanted to give you a brief intro to the Dark Ages. Eventually, later on, I'll get more detailed into all of this. I just wanted you to see some of the photos, the whitewashing, so on and so forth. But it was during that whitewashing era that they went and sanctioned for Caesar Borgia to be painted and become Christ. Right. That's when they hired, like, y'all think the Ninja Turtles are named that for a reason. Do you understand? The Ninja Turtles are named after 4 famous Renaissance painters. Right. Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Donatello, so on and so forth. These cats were the ones that the Catholic Church hired and sanctioned to destroy and whitewash all the images that they found. And thus changing the rulership. They don't know Constantine's black because they portray him as a white man. But if you go and you get the Russian icons, which is now a $7,000 book, you understand, or the icon, which is now a $3,000 to $5,000 book, you'll start to see that they've been hiding the truth from us. So now, what happened with these men from the Byzantine? Where did they go? How do I know that the Anglo-Saxons? I'm going to grab a couple of books. The first one I'm going to get into is this book right here. This is called The Negro Question Part 4. It's by Lee Cummings. Now, I want to thank Captain Tazaryak for these wonderful highlights. This is a quote from Professor Boyd Dawkins, Professor of Geology, Manchester University, London, 1879. And it's a shame that the majority of the sources that you're going to find out that we use from truth come from other countries. They don't originate inside of America because they keep this information suppressed inside of America so that Black and Hispanics do not realize who we are. You understand? It says the original people of Britain, France, Spain, and England were Black men. They were in England when our fathers, white English, invaded the land. You understand? So now, meaning what? We were there, we went and created all of this. White men invaded the land and we conquered and ruled over them for a time period, which I'm going to show you the images and give you the proof that during these time periods, we had white people as servants. We had them as in slavery. We had them as serfs, and they built the castles and so on and so forth that we designed. Just like we do today. We build all their castles, all their skyscrapers, all their houses. You understand? Jenna?
So, were the Vikings us or were the Esau
Okay,
Vikings?
you don't want to look at Vikings as, you don't want to think of Vikings as a direct race.
Okay.
There were Black Vikings, there were white Vikings. You understand? It's not like just one straight thing. Like, same thing like with the Franks and the Nords. This is another thing too. You don't want to think that everybody in the Byzantine was strictly Black. The same way you don't want to think that everybody in the Western part was strictly white. You understand? At this time, the hatred that we had there wasn't really color lines. That's why I'm going to have a book called Nature Knows No Color Line, where you're going to see that white people and Black people both ruled around the same time, which is why today, even in America, after, you understand, you know, not too many years removed from slavery, you have men like, once again, like Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice, you understand? Men who arose to certain positions of power. You have Black generals, you understand? Black heart surgeons. You get what I'm saying?
When I was in prison, the Israelite told me there was a Black king that ruled the whole entire Europe. And what you said was telling me this, but I never got to know his name, the great king.
Okay, there was many of them. Constantine was one of them. His descendants were some of them. King James was one of them. King Henry VIII. Don't think of just one. You understand? And there's all different time periods. Like, we were ruling for hundreds of years. So what you're about to find out is that these men from the Byzantine, they came from Byzantium. And then what they did was, Slaki, somebody take this? Abaji. Good?
My question is, because I found this information last week. The brother brought it up to my attention. King James, he had like 47 of the best Hebrew and Greek scholars to make the Bible, 3 for the Old Testament, 2 for the New Testament, 1 for the Apocrypha, because he broke it into 6 groups. Where can I find this information to prove it to a friend of mine? Because he's like, oh, it's a lie, you can't prove it.
Okay,
everybody's speaking, but with no proof of fact.
I'll get you there. That's in here. If once again, y'all asking questions that I'm going to answer tonight. You understand?
I tried to get him to come here so he could speak to us, so he could speak to you and ask questions.
No, so well, you can't force a crown on anybody's head.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? But once again, to answer your question, all those are going to be answered. I'm going in depth tonight. You know what I'm saying? So once again, if y'all have questions on exactly what I'm speaking about in the moment, ask. You understand? I don't want to get ahead of myself. All right? So now it says that these Black people boasted that they were citizens of the Roman Empire. How were they citizens of the Roman Empire? Because the Byzantine Empire was Rome. You understand? Go ahead.
The people that were already living in Britain.
It's talking about these people who were from Britain, France, Spain, and England. All of them boasted that that's where they came from. And this is why when you see, for example, there's certain things. Let me show you something here. This book right here, which is a black image of King James. See what he has in his hand? You can take a look at it. What you'll notice is that these scepters and that orb that he's holding in his hand, which is an image of the globe, meaning I rule the earth, I'm the natural king of this earth, those come from the Byzantine because they carried on those traditions. You understand? Y'all with me? So now it says, these Black Britain have brought the knowledge of iron and brass with them. The iron and bronze technology will be proven perfectly when I show you the German tapestry. These people were herdsmen. They possessed the short-horned ox, the horned sheep, the goat, the pig, the horse. Now, why is this important? Because it's trying to explain to you, as you stated earlier, this is why these civilizations were able to grow so much. If the Byzantine didn't collapse, we would be way more technologically advanced than we are right now, because we were the pinnacle of science at that time. You understand? It says evidence of this civilization can be seen all over the continent of Europe, as well as throughout the British Isles, extending as far as Germany, Switzerland, even to France and Spain. You understand? So these are all the different areas that we ruled. Now, later on, like I said, I'll get into Spain, not later on today, but later on down the line when I revisit this. I'll get into Spain, France, Germany, and really break down those histories. Today, I really want to get into England. All right? It says the purpose of this book is to prove the beginning that the historians of the 18th and 19th century had no problem describing the blackness of early Europeans. Benjamin Franklin, Professor Boyd Dawkins, and Albert Churchward gave us an eyewitness accounts of the world order in their generations. Churchward's eyewitness accounts gives a grim description of what happened to the black presence in Europe. The good doctor stated that the blacks became extant by the time he gave his lecture to the Royal Society in London, meaning what? That eventually by that point, everyone was put in slavery. You understand? Right. So now, with all that being stated, there's a couple other things that I want to get into. I'm going to be jumping around a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But I want you to understand a couple of things. This is another book right here called In Search of the Dark Ages. Now, the original Anglo-Saxon. Anybody know what Anglo-Saxon means?
Angel or son of?
Sons of angels or sons of Isaac, depending on whose translation you use. Why would these men from Byzantium come and move over into this area and name themselves Anglo-Saxons?
Because they were the descendants of.
Because these were the Jews. You understand? These were the children of Israel. Now,
but why Isaac? Why not?
Because we are the sons of Abraham. Yeah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You understand?
It's like the scripture says, out of Isaac shall thy seed be called.
Out of Isaac shall thy perfect precept. Out of Isaac shall thy seed be called. You understand? He was the one who was given the promise. And that's why Britain, if you break it down, it means men of the covenant. Why would these be the Anglo-Saxons, the sons of Isaac or the sons of angels? You understand? Men of the covenant. Why would they call it that? Because we knew who the hell we were. You understand? This is Althelstan. I wish I could get this image in color. You understand? That's another image that I want to blow up for y'all. This is Althelstan, the first Anglo-Saxon king. This is a black man. You understand? Come pass this around. I'm going to pass this around. You can copy it once you get the book. So now, why am I bringing this up? I'm going to show you. I'm going to try to go a little bit chronologically, and I'm also going to jump around a little bit. You understand? You see here, I'm going to save this for a minute. This for a minute. Bong, right here. So now, why else is this so important? This book right here is called Nature Knows No Color Line. Okay?
I know that all this is facts and true, but how can I prove it to my ignorant friends who are trying to come to the truth and don't really understand?
The scripture says, don't cast your pearls to swine. All you tell them is come to class.
That's beautiful. I heard that verse. Where can I find it?
Matthew's the 7th chapter. All right. So now, a couple of things that I want to get into before I start getting into specifics. These right here are family crests. What can you tell me about these family crests of nobility? I'm going to flip through a couple of them before I pass this around. Abadja?
So like you want all of them?
They all have black faces on them.
God, they all got black faces. They all, a lot of them have bandanas, and a few of them also have a shield.
You understand? Now, this is French, Dutch, and Belgium families with Negro names and faces.
Right.
This book can be found. This book once again is Nature Knows No Color Line. These crests were taken from a book called Fairbairn's Crest. This book is also about $500 to $600. We actually have 2 copies of it. And at one time, you weren't allowed to take this book out the library unless you were a senator. You understand? That's why every version of the books we have will say property of some library on it. Now, I'm going to continue flipping through so you guys can see how many of these crests of noble families, every single one of them had Negro faces on them or a Negro name attached to it. Why? Because we were ruling in these areas. These are, do you understand? Italy, Spanish, Polish, all these different families. You understand? German families as well. Once again, we ruled Britain up until the 17th century, and we ruled Germany up until the 18th. Ain't that something?
All right.
You understand? I'm going to keep flipping through. Abadja, you had your hand up?
Come on, sir. I was just curious about the names of the families. Why would we go around calling ourselves Schwarzmoor, Blackamoor, and so on and so forth?
Okay, because when we came into these different areas, it was the developments of the languages. You understand? Matter of fact, if you go and you look up, this is something you can get on linguistics.
Okay.
If you go, I believe I still have the article. Officer Parasha from the UK sent it to me. That when you go and you look up Germanic and Gaelic and all those different languages, they actually come from Hebrew. That's why. You understand?
Sorry, sir, if I could.
Yeah.
What happened to a lot of those families that ruled, specifically, what happened to the family that ruled in, family of Negroes that ruled in Germany? And then, if you could, if there's anything on the House of the Stewarts, like what happened to them?
Okay, well, what happened to him is that King James, the Stewart line, you understand, went down through King James, and then his son Charles I was beheaded and executed. This was the beginning of the fall of their family ruling inside of Europe, or more so rather of their royal family lineage being replaced by so-called white people. You understand?
And if I could, do you know the name of the last black family rule in Germany? The name of the last
I couldn't give you their names off the rip right now. Once again, that's something I'm going to get in later weeks when I actually revisit this, and I'll get more in depth with all these. You understand? Like as of right now, like I said, for tonight, I really want to stick with England and Scotland. You understand? Because once again, this is King James the 6th and the 1st. You understand? Because he was the 6th and the 1st of these 2 thrones of these 2 nations that he was ruling on. James the 6th and James the 1st, depending on which land that he was in. So once again, just want to flip through a couple more of these crests so you can see. This was extensive, man. We ruled all these different areas. Good?
The book with the full time crest is Fairbairn's what?
Fairbairn's Crest.
Fairbairn's Crest.
Fairbairn's Crest is the actual book. Once again, like I said, we have 2 copies of it in the school. You know what I'm saying? The New York Library is extensive, man. So now, once again, where was King James from originally?
Constantine?
No.
This family from there?
His family was from northern France. He comes from the Normans.
Okay, this is true, but what would they have considered him at the time?
Like he was Scottish.
He was a Scot. You understand? So now, this is something that I want to get in about Scotland. It says McRiddich, this was another historian, adds that the legends and history of the Scottish Highlands are both witness to the existence of a purely black people there. You understand? Meaning that not only was the English and the Anglo-Saxons originally a black people, but so were their cousins and their brothers, the Scottish. You understand? So the more that you dig inside of this, the more that you start to find all these people were brothers. A lot of people don't know that Shakespeare was black. Right. You understand? And I don't give a damn if y'all got a problem with me saying that. Y'all can drop dead. You understand? Right. Because when you go and you look up any image of Shakespeare, it's going to tell you this is not a portrait. It's going to say this is a likeness. It's very rare to find a portrait of Shakespeare. And if you do, it'll be this big in the back of the book somewhere crammed. with his dark and Negro features. Go ahead.
Salak, is there any other points of proof that will show you Shakespeare had to be black or was black?
Because I just told you, because of his actual, if you could find a image of his actual portrait, he's a black man.
So there actually is a portrait.
Yes, there is. You understand? I'll also get you the name of that book. I can't remember it off the hand. I have it written down in one of my notebooks. But I remember writing it down, and the problem is you can't find that book. It's a very, very, very rare book. Now, to add on to that, you have scholars who will sit there and tell you that Othello was based on a black man.
Right.
You understand? Now, how do we know this? I saw your hand up. I'm going to answer your question in 1 second. I just want to get through this right here. Othello's race since the days of Edmund Kean has been in dispute. Here are some facts to remember as the regard of this. Shakespeare lifted his plot largely from the hectic, I can't even read it, it's in another language, by Scipio, an Italian romancer. Scipio only called his character the Moor and spoke of his negriza or blackness of skin. Now, once again, don't be simple. The word Moor only means black.
Right.
And the reason why we were called Moors during the Dark Ages was because this is when only dark-skinned people were ruling. This is when the Arabs were in rulership. This is when Africans were in rulership, and this is when Israelites were in rulership. All throughout Europe. Why? Because white people were enslaved.
Right.
White people were on the bottom. White people were in the caves. You understand?
Right.
Get your hand up.
Yeah, from Shakespeare, I read a book. Asian man wrote it, and it's a lie because he was saying that Shakespeare made plays for the masses to show that they were going to enslave the Americas. And also, it's funny because they show about the word Caribbean, and Caribbean actually means chain. Like they were naming us and shit, and how like they were fucking making plays about enslaving us, but I see it as a lie. The way I'm putting my pieces in your pieces.
It's definitely a lie, because if you ever notice, Shakespeare always writes about somebody from the ghetto. You understand? Always writes about somebody from the commons or the low areas. You understand? He was a brother.
Black Israelite, when I was in prison years ago, when I was in the truth, and I came back, he told me William Shakespeare was black and he wrote none of the plays. It was another person that wrote it, and he also was a black Israelite that really wrote all those plays, and William Shakespeare that took credit for it because he was having intercourse with the queen. If that's true or a lie, where can I find this information?
I don't know nothing about that. You understand? As far as I know, William Shakespeare was an excellent writer. He was a very talented brother, and that's, you understand? Listen, who's the best poets today?
Yeah.
Black and Hispanics.
My whole house was Israelites. Where I was locked up in prison, I was locked up with like about 15 Israelites, and everybody would break it down to me about the history. They told me to go to the school, and from that school, it became this school.
No,
And
this is the original.
No, the other Israelite school, not this one. It wasn't here.
Listen, brother, I don't
don't
acknowledge. Okay, it might have been in a different location, but it's under the same regime.
Yeah, it was this.
I.S.U.P.K.
Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge.
Correct.
And they told me that Viking means long live Israel.
I don't know nothing about that either.
And Jesus Christ means chosen savior. And in Hebrew, it means Yahweh Shai.
That's correct.
And they were like in their 50s and 60s. And at that time, I was like 19. And that's when I was like learning. And since I stopped smoking cigarettes, I stopped doing drugs and stopped having sex, I'm starting to remember everything from the past.
Right.
And I'm trying to unite with other Israelites from the past that I used to know to get back my information.
I understand. Well, let me tell you something, brother. You in the right place, all right?
Right.
So now, with all that being said, now I can really get into King James. So now we laid the foundation, we laid the groundwork. We know Athelstan was a black man. We know that all these men migrated from the Byzantine Empire. So now I'm going to get into a couple of different sources to prove that King James was a brother, all right? First source I'm going to get back into is this one right here, back with Lee Cummings. It says, King James came from a long line of black Scottish Stewart kings. The Stewarts, now once again, where does the word Stewart come from?
Schwartz
or Swarthian, which means what?
Black.
Black or dark skinned. You understand? That's where Stewart comes from. So now, not only ruled Scotland, they ruled France, Spain, Ireland, England, Britain, and Wales. King James was able to rule all, King James was able to rule all these lands because of these people. You understand? So now, what you're going to start to see is that now I'm not going to get into this. Listen, if they want the goddamn DNA, I'll give it to you. This is another book that I want to get in on. This is called The Negro Rulers of Scotland and the British Isles, which states the Negro Moorish Catholic, Catholic Scottish king. Why is he saying Catholic as well? Was he actually a Catholic? No, but he brought about religious reforms because he was trying to unite these different lands and kingdoms. You understand? He ruled over Catholics. He ruled over, you understand? Hold on 1 second. I just want to get straight to the point of this. It says King James Stewart was the eldest son of James III. He married Margaret Tudor, the sister of Henry VIII of England. Henry VIII, the Tudor family, all of these were faces that were whitewashed. All of these were brothers, you understand?
Right.
It says, James, like all other Stuart kings, was a descendant of Robert the Bruce, who was a descendant of the Scottish Canmore, great chief dynasty, which was first ruled by Malcolm III, a blood relative of Kenneth Dube the Black. You understand? Meaning what? All these titles, all of them ended up meaning black or more or so on and so forth. You understand? Which is why they called them the Negro Moorish king. Good?
Slavi, can I get the author on that?
The author on this is Dr. John L. Johnson. You understand? This is a real doctor. This ain't Dr. Reggie, Dr. Dre,
Bro.
Dr. J. You understand? So now it says Moorish blood came into the English royal family. Also Elizabeth, daughter of Edward IV and mother of Henry VIII, had several Moors in her family. Among the Count More and Count Moraine, there is also Almoravide or Almoravide, which is distinctly Moorish. You understand? Meaning that their entire family was largely Negroes. You can get all of these different excerpts from that same book. All right. So now, did you hear that?
Sure. People that had that last name now, we look at that as those are the people that stole those last names, or how like someone's the last name Alvito is an Italian or a white man. Looks like a white man.
Okay. These were names and identities that were taken over, and then if we received them again, it's because we were conquered by the people who, you understand, who stole the name. You understand? So that's why you'll see a white man with the name Moore and a black man with the name Moore. You understand? Because they were conquered by that man Moore. You understand? Because once again, the white man, to hide his lineage, when he goes to an area, he takes over who the people are and their culture and their identity. Right. That's why, once again, he's the South African. That's why he's the Australian. That's why he's the Russian. You understand? He's not even originally from Europe. Right. You understand? He's not even originally from Russia. He's not even the original Aryan. The Japhetics were. You understand? Got your hand up in the back.
Salaam, sir. What's it called? When they mentioned how she had many Moors in her family, were they trying to say that the person they're talking about, while they may have had many Moors in their family, then they themselves were a devil? Or are they just trying to play technology?
One more time?
Huh?
One more time?
Like when you was going down reading and they're like, this person had many Moors in their family. But the way that's trying to say, like, she's a devil, but she has a lot of, like, Jake family.
Well, okay, when they say largely Negro, yeah, that's just white historians, you understand, trying to not fully admit, you understand, that these were brothers and sisters, you understand?
So even the person who has many, quote-unquote, Moors in the family could themselves be a Moor.
And you got to understand, they also could have interracially mixed some of their relatives. So that's not unlikely either, but that's why when it says largely black or largely Negro or largely Moorish, it's because the majority of them were not mixed. Because once again, you had people who married for peace treaties, people who married, you understand, for power, you understand, uniting two different houses. Yeah. So now, there's a couple of other things that I want to get from these books as well. For example, now we're talking about some of King James's family members. Right. You understand? Elizabeth I. It says the Protestant Elizabeth I was the second daughter of Henry VIII and Anne Boynton. She succeeded her scornful sister Mary I in 1558 AD. The English Elizabeth, like the Stuarts of Scotland, was a descendant of Kenneth the Niger. You understand? Meaning what? The black.
Right.
That's why you're going to find all the titles inside their names are all black. Now remember, he also descended from a long line of Scottish kings, meaning what? Robert the First. Let's find out about Robert the First. Also, when you see him illustrated, you could also see that he was a brother. Okay.
The first person you mentioned was Kenneth the Niger.
Khan.
And Slacker. Just so I can clarify. The Henry from Tudors, that old show from Showtime or whatever, that was actually a brother.
Those were all brothers.
Even his quote unquote or his other wife.
Absolutely, which is something that I want to get inside of. When you go and look at there's a show on TV right now, I believe on HBO, called Gunpowder. You understand? It's about the gunpowder plot, which was to murder King James, set up by the Jesuits, which was set up by the Catholic Church. Right. You understand? King James in that show is depicted as a white homosexual when he's a black straight man. You understand? Which I'm going to get into all that homosexuality nonsense too. First, I'm going to bust down this complexion. Hold your questions for a minute, y'all, all right? Matter of fact, I'll read a little bit more on Elizabeth. All it does is talk about their family members and how, you understand, the queen of dark complexion. You understand? It's a dark complexion, just as Edward III. All it's going to talk about is all their friends, all their family members, all their descendants, all being dark-skinned, swarthy, Douglas, which also means dark-skinned. Do you understand? All these different complexions. So now this is Robert I. The Moorish Robert I, also known as Robert Bruce, was the son of Robert de Bruce, Earl of Carrick by the right of his dark-skinned Pictish wife, the son of, excuse me, 1 second. I'm getting old. I can't read small font anymore, man. It says the same Duncan, meaning swarthy, black or dark-skinned warrior. You understand? It says he became the father of David II, who succeeded him. Bruce's dark skin, and then it also talks about his dark-skinned daughter. Talks about Kenneth Dub of Niger. You understand? Which all those terms all mean black. All right. It says, Queen Elizabeth, back to Queen Elizabeth, was not pale. However, when people saw her, they only witnessed the makeup she wore, and not understanding that she painted her face white with cosmetic paint to look unusually pale. And the reason being is because this is after the time that they painted Christ as white. You understand? So you have a lot of, this is why you ever heard of people wearing powdered wigs? Right. This is why even white people would wear them. You understand? Because these are all traditions that they got from the royal family who would make themselves lighter. Is this something uncommon? Is this something that don't happen today? This is why Sammy Sosa bleached the hell out of his skin. This is why Megan Good bleached the hell out of her skin. You understand? Are you kidding me?
I didn't see that one.
Brother, go look at Megan Good from a couple of years ago and how perfect her complexion was. And today she's about 2 shades lighter. Get your hand up?
Yeah, with the makeup, that sounds really sus. Like, trying to make it seem like, man, it's like with makeup, it's like a veil. She's like a regular veil, you see some woman. That's some fucked up shit.
Listen, I completely understand. No, you were right.
To add more to that, just like how our people want to wear blonde hair.
Right.
Want to act like them and want to mate with them and produce children that look lighter. That way their children can produce and look lighter.
All it comes down to is a form of self-hatred. You get what I'm saying? So now it says, Elizabeth had many black-skinned Negroes working in her government. One happened to be the English nobleman Francis Walsingham, who was a statement advisor and Secretary of State. He was so black that Elizabeth called him Elizabeth called him her Moor, meaning Negro. You understand? So now, once again, you go through every single one of these cases, you flip through these books, all you're going to keep seeing is more and more of how they have a Moorish heritage. And once again, in about a minute, I'm going to get into when Scotland was Jewish and prove that King James was of a Jewish line or a Jew line. You understand? A line of Judah. They say Jewish because of the term from today. You understand? Your hand up?
Top check, sir.
Dwada. About you. On topic.
Yeah, concept. My question was about why is it, if we were in power, why is it that Like you see, if you look at the nature of no color line, why is it you'll see a lot of white people saw having a Negro as a slave as a symbol of great wealth?
Depends on the time period. You know what I'm saying? And because they were owning the royal families, depending on the time period. You get what I'm saying? So, once again, you have to give me the time period. You have to tell me who, when, where, what country, what nation. Because some of them, listen, there was a time before they started wearing the white face that white people were wearing blackface. You understand? That's why they continue those traditions on in the Netherlands today.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's where all that comes from. Why do you think judges wear all black? Don't worry, I'll get into it. I got the photographs to prove it, the paintings. Good?
The other one. I would like to know how these people become so powerful and just took over.
Because the Most High gave them the power. You understand? Because the Most High used the white man as a beating stick for us. You understand? Because we would rather eat shrimp, crab, and lobster than, you understand, than to serve our God. You understand? Because we would rather go put on purple and blow rods. You understand? Like because we would rather marry white women or Asian women instead of picking a black or Hispanic woman from the ghetto, you understand, and create a beautiful family. Because we would rather worship a white God. Or you want to go and you want to be a damn Egyptologist and swallow your own semen. I don't know. You understand? Who knows what the hell you want to do, but that's why. Because we don't want to serve the Lord. So as a result, he brought us very low. He made us the tail and made them the head.
Wow, we was powerful once upon a time.
You understand? I mean, we were even more powerful, you understand, when Solomon was ruling. Never mind when we were over here, we weren't keeping the laws fully. You understand now, just the sidebar, this is back over here. It says white people blacken their face, not only for the Morris dance, but because of the attraction for dark skin. There was a time when why do you think white people go tanning? It's the same thing. Whoever's in power, that's who you're going to want to be like. You understand? Well, if they're depicting Jesus as a white man, what are they going to want to look like? They're going to want to look like their God, no matter if they're in rulership or not. You understand? So now, back to the topic. I want to get a couple of other sources before I grab these books. I also want to touch on demonology. Because they say, oh, King James wrote a book about demonology. Y'all don't know what the hell it is because you never bought the book. Stop thinking you can get your education from memes. You understand? It's ridiculous, man.
Sorry, sir.
Good?
Sorry, never mind.
Never mind. It says, now this is King James, once again, the 6th and the 1st. It says, the Episcopalian Moorish king, King James. Why does it keep naming all these different religions? Because if you read this book is about nothing but religious reform in the life of King James. You understand? And how he was trying to unite his empire, and that what was tearing it apart was the different doctrines and everything like that. You understand? Primarily the Catholic Church. It says, now King James the 6th and the 1st Stewart was the son of Henry and Mary Stewart, whose bloodline stretched all the way back to the Scottish king Kenneth the Niger. He became the king of Scotland in 1567 to 1625 following the death of his mother Mary, and was chosen by his cousin Elizabeth of England to succeed her. You understand? The name Stewart derived from the Norse word swarthy, meaning black. I can't make it any more blatant. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how many other books y'all want, but I'm gonna keep going. Go ahead.
What's that book of yours?
What's up?
What's that book?
Same book that I gave you a minute ago.
Okay, Negro rulers of Scotland. Come.
All right. It says his name is the most well known of all the European kings, since he authorized the King James version of the Bible and named it after himself. His 6 feet, dark-skinned and big-nosed wife, Anne of Denmark, who praised her darkness and beauty of being black, became the mother of his 7 children. Some people say he had 8 children. Some people say he had 7. The reason being is because most of them died at a very young age. About only 3 of his children actually survived into adulthood. Once again, all those excerpts and images came from the Negro rulers of Scotland and the British Isles by Dr. John L. Johnson. All right. Now, Let's get a little bit more into King James. You understand? And it's not, you know what? I'm not going to go here yet. You understand? This is all the different bloodlines of the Scottish kings and rulers that were related to King James. You understand? So now, I'll give y'all a couple of things. It says the forgotten monarchy of Scotland, Prince Michael Stewart. The Stewart family maternal line in France was descended from the tribe of Judah. What's up? You had your hand up?
I just wanted the author.
This author is Elizabeth Caldwell Hirschman and Donald N. Yates.
What's the name of the book again?
When Scotland was Jewish.
That's not it. Who's the other devil?
The who?
The other devil, the male, you said Elizabeth.
Donald N. Yates.
Donald N. Yates. Sorry.
You understand?
Done.
Now, once again, once I get through his family, then I want to clear up, you understand, some of the misconceptions about did he write the Bible, who wrote the Bible, translations of the Bible, was he a homosexual, so on and so forth.
Can you read that sentence again?
Which sentence?
The first sentence you wrote?
No sweat. It says, this is the forgotten monarchy of Scotland, Prince Michael Stewart. It says, Michael Stewart puts the circumstances in rather straightforward manner in his narrative. The Stewart family maternal line in France was descended from the tribe of Judah. He believes his family is of Davidic ancestry, that is from King David, and he is therefore Jew by descent.
It said maternal.
Now, okay, once again, all he's saying is his mother's from the tribe of Judah. You understand?
Yes, but I know we're more concerned about his father.
We are. Is he in the truth? You understand? Originally named FitzAlan, the family took on the name of Stewart after serving as royal stewards to the Bruce dynasty of Scotland. Why? Because they were related to Bruce the Niger, Kenneth Bruce the Niger. You understand? By marrying the female heir of his king, Robert Bruce, in 1315. So now, this is where it starts to get into their family. You understand? It starts to let you know about their lineage, as we were explaining earlier, what they look like. So now, go ahead.
And that was Prince Michael Stewart.
Correct.
Prince Michael Stewart married Bruce's.
Now check this out. Now, I have to say Salakia in advance to Captain Tazaryak and Captain Meshach, not in that order, Captain Meshach and Captain Tazaryak, because I know how much they loathe DNA.
Right.
And I don't give a damn about DNA either. But for you blackity black folks who love DNA so much, this is the Stewart and Caldwell's. This is page 33. This is DNA and population studies. The Stewart donor scores match those of the Caldwell donors and the second wave of immigration. So we now move to discussion those Jews or crypto Jews who joined their correlationists in Scotland after 1300. What we term as the Stewart-Caldwell haplotype is the most frequent male haplotype on record for that time frame. You understand? It is widely distributed throughout Europe and America. It occurs most in ethnic populations. Let's find out which ethnic populations, including African American and Hispanics. According to DNA, King James is black. And the same DNA he has is found primarily in black and Hispanics in America.
So like you're showing a haplogroup, I believe haplogroups derive from the Y chromosome, which even in science they say is something you only get from your father. There's some things that you only get from your father, that only come from your father.
Yeah, which just goes to show you how right the Bible is.
Right.
Abadja.
Salakia, and this is Scotland was Jewish.
This is when Scotland was Jewish. It even contains the DNA right here.
Oh, sure. Can I take a picture of that?
When I'm done, you could see all these books at the end. I got 40 minutes left and 5 more books.
And a quick side note, like if you look up haplogroups, there are only about like 18 of them, and there are only 18 nations. Like 18 different white.
You see what I'm saying? Come on, man. Listen, you tell me the Bible is not science?
Right.
Do they mention what's the blood type?
No, they don't mention the blood type. They're just talking about the haplogroup. So now I'm going to name a couple of other families that were not only ruling at this time, but were intermarried into his family. This is the Campbells. You understand? It says his line was founded by the colorful crusader Black Colin Campbell, who received Glencory in 1432 from his father. Sir Duncan Campbell, the Campbells of Loudon, are descended from Sir Duncan Campbell, second son of the first Moor who married a Crawford in Lousdom. You understand now? It says the Campbell septs include several with the appearance of Hebrew connections as well. It says the Gaelic word for Dubnin or Dubin, which means black or dark, such as the designation probably referred to the dark skin or complexion, as early portraits of the Campbells show them to have olive or tawny skin and dark hair and eyes. Meaning what? When you have olive skin, it's either green or black olives. Which one have you seen on earth?
Right.
You understand? I've never seen a green man. You understand?
Right.
Maternal gathered from, I can't read that word either because all these words are from Denmark and Sweden and who the hell else knows. Genealogies illustrates that several Campbell lines in the American colonies had Hebrew naming patterns. So for example, as time went on, they adopted those traditions, and that's why they had the Hebrew in their names. Forbes. This is another family which intermarried with the Stewarts. The surnames Forbush, Farbush, or Forbus all appear to be alternative spellings of Forbes. We believe the family name originally was derived from the Moroccan. Now, once again, this is another term for what? Moor. You understand? Sephardic surname. Now, it also states that they were openly Jewish as well. So now, Douglas.
Salakia, what happened to a lot of these people during the Inquisition times? What has happened to them?
Okay, we'll get there during the Spanish Inquisition. I want to stick with England right now, all right? Douglas. The name Douglas means dark stranger in Gaelic, and many have originated it from the Mediterranean complexions of the family founders. You know anything about Mediterranean complexions? These are dark-skinned complexions. Let me ask you something. Where is Israel bordered into? The Mediterranean Sea. You understand? The Black Douglases, so named for their dark coloring, were the dominant forces on the border between England and Scotland from 1300 to 1455. You understand? Their family portraits attest to their ancestral Mediterranean physiology. How many other books do I got to read, y'all?
Right.
You understand? Okay.
When I was in prison, one of the Israelites told me that a lot of this information is written in Russian, Chinese, and Japanese. That's what I was trying to learn the language so I could find more information on it. They told me that's why it's hidden, and they told me that's why they have these books that cost $1,000, $5,000, because we can't afford it, so we can't find this history. That's why they jacked up the prices, and they wrote it in Russian, Chinese, and Japanese. It says some places in Sanskrit, they told me.
Okay, now that's a fact. And that's why if this tape goes out, anybody watching this, y'all should buy these books tonight.
Right.
Y'all should buy every single one of these books tonight, because I promise you, once they go out, every single one of these books are going to get jacked up. Just like, once again, the Russian icons and the icons, I got those for $90 a piece. That Russian icon is $7,000 on Amazon. Y'all think I'm lying? Go look it up.
Zakia, and they also told me, when this was in '93, they told me if I were to attempt to get these books, they told me I will be under surveillance because I'm getting these books.
If you come inside this school, you're a domestic terrorist.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like I like straight up and down. You know what I'm saying? Like they probably got me on the FBI walls pinned up somewhere right about here.
Wow.
You understand? Commander General Yahanna at the top. All right. So that's just how it goes. That's why I don't know if you sidebar. I don't know if you even noticed. You understand? When white people are shooting up country western concerts, they turn around and say that the real enemy is black identity extremists.
Right.
What would the I.S.U.P.K be considered?
Right.
A black identity extremist. You understand? Like, brother, let me tell you something. You come inside here, you understand? Like welcome to your phone being tapped. You understand?
Right.
You try to leave the country, the FBI is coming to your door to want to know why you're leaving. You understand? So on and so forth. If you're scared, go to church.
No,
Right.
yeah.
All right, I'm
I
just
was
making
telling
sure.
my brother about the dream that I was being followed and I'm being tapped. This is the dream I had last year. And now he's telling me this. I'm like, wow, it's just my mind's being blown.
You know what I'm saying? Listen, I'm telling you, once again, if you scared,
Not
you. I'm saying in general.
Actually,
Listen,
I love it.
we're live right now. You know what I'm saying? Like people are watching this. If y'all home, if y'all scared too, you could go to the church and get a tambourine, or you can go put fringes on the bottom of a t-shirt. You could join the conscious community, wear an unk, smoke weed, and eat your own semen. I don't know what the hell they have to do. I'm never gonna let them live that down, ever. Ever. Every time I see sign that, I'm gonna go. Yeah. I'm done, yo.
I like you, sir. Get it from Colgate, a big bottle of Listerine.
Yo, I'm telling you, that's what the hell they need.
I wanted to mention this. I know this sounds crazy, but yesterday when I thought it was Monday, I walked from here to Queens, and when I'm on the Queens Bridge, I know it wasn't a drone. 2 UFOs, or either that or a military airplane shaped like a UFO was following me.
Listen, could be, brother.
And it wasn't a drone. I can tell because I seen a UFO before.
I hear you. Listen, I seen a bunch of them too, but I call them IFOs because I know exactly what the hell they are. But once again, I want to get back on topic, y'all. All right. So now, we're talking about all these different families that all married into the Stewarts, the Douglases, and every single one of them having to do with what? Being dark-skinned in complexion. Now, notable in his genealogy are the relative frequent marriages between the royal Stewart family, which regarded itself as being Jewish ancestry, marrying the cousins of the same Douglas, which was known as dark strangers or dark-skinned, and alliances with other families to have been of Jewish descent. For instance, the Forbes, Hay, and Lyon families. You understand? So now, once again, we might also draw attention to the perpetuation of the Greek name George, drawn from the orbit of the late antiquity of the Byzantine world. Once again, why? Because we came from the Byzantine, which is why we adopted those things from Byzantium. Now, this is the Gordon family. As with other families, we have studied the Gordon portraits to show them to be dark-skinned with Mediterranean features. It's going to say the same thing. You understand? It says, who openly practiced Judaism in England during the 1700s. Come on, man. So now, last thing I'm going to read on the Stewart family, it says the Stewarts descend from Dal of Brittany, France. They came from England with William the Conqueror. Walter the Stewart came to Scotland with David I. Walter was created Stewart of Scotland and given estates in Renshire and East Lothian. James V, High Steward, swore featly to Edley I of England, but later joined with William Wallace. Why is it mentioning all these names? These are all their allies, all their family members. Right. William Wallace, the same one that you read about in Braveheart, was also a black man. Right. You understand? Very simple. You understand? You want to know who their enemies were? That was the Roman Catholic Church, who we know had been taken over by devils since 1453. Now we jump out 200 years into the 1600s. You understand? And you see the same thing, the same battle going on between Jacob and Esau, man. You understand? Good?
What's it called? Like, okay, so, like, one thing I have to do, what's it called? Like, how do you, like, when it comes to, like, trying to figure out who's who and what's what, like, what's the best way? Like, how many sources would you need in order for you to know everything I'm saying is actually factual?
I mean, if you go according to scholastic standpoints, 3, you understand? But once again, you could fit the pieces of the puzzle together. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just pulled out 4 sources. Right. You know what I'm saying? When Scotland was Jewish, Nature Knows No Color line, Lee Cummings' book, and the other one online. You understand? The British Isles and all that. So you know what I'm saying? Like, what you could start to see is, like, for example, even if I didn't see that image of Constantine, but I found those images of his descendants being black, what could Constantine only be? Right. A brother. You get what I'm saying? So you got to fit the pieces to the puzzles in together yourself. You get what I'm saying? You got your hand up first?
Yeah, England, also known as Angland. You look back on the etymology, you see Ang means a black bull. It's a little subliminal, like you said, you put the pieces together. It's interesting.
You understand?
How they depicted it as a black hole, I don't know why.
We'll get back to it. But now, in the meantime, there's a couple other things that I want to get into. I want to get into more of King James's life. Now, we know about his family. We know how they came in rulership. We know they were brothers. You understand? So now, King James, what is he most famously known for? The King James version of the Bible. You understand? Get you a 1611 if you haven't already. This is the complete scriptures. Well, at least what we have left. You understand?
Right.
A lot of our records and all that were burned and destroyed. This is why we had to find remnants of them in the Qumran caves, because our people would stash them in the caves, because if they found them, they would destroy them. Just like they destroyed the North American Indians' records. Just like they destroyed the Indians' records in the Caribbean. Just like they stole our identity. You understand? So on and so forth. Now, please, listen. Hold your peace for a minute, all right? The water. King James Version. You understand? When Elizabeth died in 1603, the crown passed to King James I, the King of Scotland. You understand? Now, it says, here we go. The King James Version of the Bible. He wanted to produce a new translation of the Bible from the original Hebrew and Greek. It says, without delay, King James nominated 54 of the best Hebrew and Greek scholars of the day. Only 47 actually took part in the work, which did not begin until 1607. They were divided into 6 groups, 3 for the Old Testament, 2 for the New, 1 for the Apocrypha. You understand? Marginal notes were used only to explain Hebrew and Greek words and to draw attention to parallel passages. Italics were used for words not found in the original, but necessary to complete the sentences. All right? So now, meaning that this was just a translation. King James did not write the Bible. Right. What he did was he took the original Greek and Hebrew scrolls. The Old Testament was written in Hebrew. The New Testament was written in Greek. And he translated them into Old English, which was the common tongue of the time. This is something else that pissed off the Roman Catholic Church. Why? Because at that time, the masses, which is what they call their church session, you understand? They call it a mass, something that you give to the masses of the people. And it was done in Latin. They had a monopoly on the interpretation of the scriptures. They basically told you what the hell to believe. You understand? King James had a slew of enemies in the Catholic Church that they made 5 to 6 attempts on his life, depending if you want to count the gunpowder plot. Right. The gunpowder plot was, y'all seen the movie V for Vendetta? V for Vendetta is the movie where they have a terrorist in London who wears a Guy Fawkes mask. You understand? Guy Fawkes was the man who was caught with all the gunpowder that they were bringing in an underground passageway because they were going to try to reset the government. You understand? Which means what? They can bring in the English, because the English and the Scots had beef with each other. The English could not stand that a Scot was ruling over them. You understand? Just think of white people hating the fact that Obama was in office. You understand? Yeah. So
the English were black and the Scots were white?
No, at this time, okay. Did Israel have civil wars? You understand? That's all you got to think of. You understand? Like, because of the wars and the expansion for conquest, we had beef with each other. That's why the western part of the Roman Empire, we lost that even sooner, because we had too many civil wars. We were fighting amongst each other. You understand? We didn't have any unity. So while we're fighting wars, somebody else could come in and battle us. Now we're weak. We got all our money tied up in wars, all our strength. You understand? So now, what ended up happening was King James authorized the translation of the scriptures. He hired them, so on and so forth. Now, as a result, you understand, they had different attacks that were made on his life. Once again, one of them was the gunpowder plot, where they were going to blow up Parliament. They were going to blow up Parliament with him and every single person in it. These were all different attacks made by the Catholic Church. And all the rumors of King James being a homosexual, all these rumors came, first of all, after he was dead. Right. And second of all, they were all endorsed by the Catholic Church. Or they were endorsed by those from England. They were endorsed by British, you understand, by the Brits. Why? Because of the beef that they had with the Scots. You understand? So there's a couple of things that I want to get into to cut that homosexuality garbage. You understand? Is it on topic?
Stop, yeah. When I was in prison, they told me it was by the Catholic Church. They tried to blow King James.
They tried to blow him up. It was the Catholic Church. They tried to make the Jesuits the fall guys. The Jesuits is like, if the Catholic Church is okay, if the Catholic Church has a government like America, the Jesuits would be like the CIA. You understand? They would be like the military branch of the Catholic Church, that they would go handle assassination attempts or espionage missions, where they'll go and they'll infiltrate your organization, learn it, be the best of the best, they get very high in the ranks, and then try to change your doctrine to make it more like the Catholic Church, so that the Catholic Church doesn't have to rule it directly with the title. They can rule it indirectly just by the influence they put on your doctrine. You understand?
They told also when I was in prison, they told me check up the name assassin when they try to assassinate King James. That name means something. It means some kind of hidden secret. The name alone, assassin.
Because it's just somebody killing you in secrecy. You understand? It's somebody that's what the whole point is. So now, a couple other things. Now they like to say that King James was a homosexual. You understand? Yeah. There's a letter that King James wrote. I'm going to give you a description of what the hell it is. It's actually another book. You understand? This is called the Basilicon Duran. Was published in only 7 copies in 1599. Though intended for his son alone, inaccurate copies were soon in circulation, making it necessary to publish another edition in 1603 with the preface explaining some of the more contentious passages. The fact that the book was originally intended for a small circle, not for the general public, probably accounts for the king's occasional use of more pungent and outspoken language that he used in the first. You understand? So now, meaning, he went and created, which I wanted to get an actual copy of the Basilicon Duran, but they didn't have it in stock. You understand? So I got a couple of excerpts that I'm going to read from you. I have them on my phone. What's so important about this is because when you go and when you read about people saying King James was a homosexual, these were people who were either not in his circle, they were enemies of him, didn't even live in his lifetime, or wrote about it 25 years after his death. You understand? They never quote any of his actual allies. They never quote King James himself. You understand? This is a primary source, meaning that this came directly from King James's mouth. So now, it says, but as the severe justice of yours upon, hold on, Okay, so basically, this is what he writes to his son about how to conduct justice inside of his area. You understand? Inside of his realm. It says, there are horrible crimes that ye are bound in conscience to never forgive. So when you're ruling, when it comes time to give judgment, these are crimes that you can never pardon, such as witchcraft. Now, this leads me into demonology. This book, Demonology, is not about the worship of demons. I'm going to explain to you what it's about and how it correlates with why he said you are not to forgive somebody who's a witch. It says, Demonology. Although he did not know it at this time, the author of this book, King James, was to become one of the most influential people in mankind's religious history. King James is responsible for the widely accepted King James Bible. It says at the time the book was written, he was King James VI of Scotland, having ascended the throne of England a bit later in 1603. Therefore, he was in a good position to report the new news from Scotland included in this volume. Because the book was written in the late 1500s, it appears in Old English as opposed to modern, which makes it an interesting addition and aspect. In this book, it becomes clear that King James believed himself to be an instrument of God. He also believed in Satan and that it was his job to kill witches, the devil's ministers, which is why you are never to forgive a witch. This book is not about condoning witchcraft. This book is not about condoning being in league with demons. This book is about condemning it and all those who try to practice any form of witchcraft. Done. Stop studying memes and thinking you have a doctorate.
Right.
You understand? Y'all kill me with that. Continuing on. You are bound in conscience to never forgive, such as witchcraft, willful murder, incest. All these homosexuals in Kemet want to turn around and talk about King James. Meanwhile, Jabari put the stamp down that incest was acceptable in Kemet. You understand? And when asked if he would do it today, he's like, well, there's no royal bloodline. He says, maybe if I had a couple of ships and an army and land, then we can talk about marrying our sister. Wow. You understand? Meanwhile, you understand, King James, who they want to condemn, he would condemn that. You want to know why? Because the Bible is not with incest.
Right.
You understand? So now, especially with degrees of consanguinity, sodomy, you are never to forgive a homosexual. This is what King James wrote. This is what I want to know. What homosexual says that? What homosexual tells his sons they can't be a homosexual? Magic Johnson? No, I don't think so. He let his son become a damn transvestite. Right. You understand? Because Magic Johnson's probably a homosexual himself. Why do you think he got AIDS? Right. You understand? Is it clear? Is it clicking? Did you do the math? Man plus man equals what? AIDS. Right. Very simple mathematics. Sure.
Besides, if you're guilty of one sin, you're guilty of all of them.
That's correct. Once again, they weren't in the truth. From a truth standpoint, you understand that. But these are the particular sins that he's talking that you should not forgive. You understand? As well as poisoning and false coin. False coin, you understand, meaning making counterfeit money. All these crimes are crimes that you are never to forgive. Did you hand up?
I was told also when I was in prison that Hollywood is witchcraft, and Hollywood itself means witchcraft, and Merlin was a witch, and Hollywood and the music industry use music as sound waves to psychologically manipulate people and work spells on them. So they told me, don't get into the music industry.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, brother. Don't worry about that. You understand? All that comes from is Christian pastors who were upset that they were losing their best singers that everybody would come to love and see and go into the music industry and make millions of dollars, and now that church wasn't making as much money. Right. So the Christian pastors and superstitions would say the music industry is evil. You understand? Like let me tell you somebody who's more wicked than little Uzi Vert. You understand? You're a Christian pastor. Right. You understand? Any Christian pastor is more evil than Young Thug and any single one of your favorite rappers. You understand? That they are wicked and evil and all that. There's nothing wrong with music. David, you read Psalms? That's music. That's David's entire discography. You understand?
Oh, because they told me be careful what I listen to, the music, the rap music.
Brother, listen, don't this is what you don't want to listen to. Don't listen to gospel. You understand? Now, if you're going to listen to a rap song and you're going to go do a drive-by, you shouldn't listen to rap. You understand? I'm not going to listen to 50 Cent and, you understand, and go shoot up the block. You get what I'm saying? But it just so happens that his music is a little more aggressive and masculine than others. And that's a vibration I could relate to. Now, I'm not going to listen to it and start slanging rock. You understand? So now, there's another thing that King James also said. I don't got a lot of time right now, so I'm going to be moving forward, yo. All right? So now, there's another thing that King James also said. He also said to eschew being, anybody know what eschew means? It means to
get away from.
You understand? To avoid, to not do, to not go near. He said, especially eschew to be effeminate in your dress, smell, and speech. You understand? Now, why would he say never pardon a homosexual? And this is another thing. You know, gays have their own Bible.
Right, right.
Gays have their own Bible, and in it, they took out all the passages that are against homosexuality. Why would King James and his authorized version leave them in? Why would he not pardon the sodomite? Because the problem is you do biased research. You do biased history only from one side of the story from people who couldn't stand the man. You understand? You know, you have people today saying Malcolm X was a homosexual.
Right.
You understand? Why do they say that after he's dead? They didn't say that while he was alive.
Right.
They said it after he was dead. You understand? One of those same people was Sir Anthony Weldon. Sir Anthony Weldon was one of those people who waited until 1650. Meaning what? King James was already dead for about 25 years, and he waited till his son Charles was executed. Then he started saying they were homosexuals. He didn't have any opposition now. Now he could say whatever the hell that he wants. You understand?
So if I could just get what's called that timeline, the whole timeline with Charles and Charles the First and Second. What's called Cromwell lost his power, and Charles II got put back in power, and then Cromwell's descendants got put back in power.
And then he got executed.
So
and then Charles was executed.
Yeah. So Charles the First was executed. Cromwell came into power. Cromwell fell out of power. Charles II came into power.
Because they were all fighting for it. And then after that was the decline, and that's when they started to take over the bloodlines and the rulership and so on and so forth.
Okay, because I thought because when I read it, it's like Cromwell did this, then Charles came into power, but I'm like, wait, that should be first Charles, not second Charles. So it's like they were both fighting during the time of those two kings. Like, but the father and the son had to fight the Cromwells to keep the throne. Because
there was about to be a regime change. You understand? Because because once again, this is the 17th century.
Right.
Towards the end of the 17th century, England and Scotland, you understand, became ruled by whites as well. You understand? So now, we talked about the homosexuality, the attempts on his life. He did not write the Bible. He translated it. His family, he was black. What else do I want to get into? Last thing that I want to get into is I want to show you that we were the ones at this time who had white people in slavery as well. You understand?
Other one. I wanted to point out how you were saying that these gay people are making their Bible. I was looking through YouTube. They're creating a new church, and they're gonna worship the new AI. They call her Sophia, and they made her a citizen in Saudi Arabia. And they're creating a new Bible, and they're copying it from ours. Like they copied the Quran.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. You understand? All these churches are false.
Right.
You understand?
So they have an artificial intelligence now called Sophia.
I know all about it. You understand? And Sophia's going to burn with this place. Donald Trump's going to burn with this place. All these people are going to burn with these places. Let me tell you something that's worse. All these church steeples that you see up the block telling you that it's okay to be homosexual in America and that you could still worship God. That's worse. All right.
It's like Isaiah 45:17, where it says, "No weapon formed against thee shall prosper."
And then the churches get shot up. You understand? Because they're not serving the Lord. Now, this is another misconception that I want people to know. The Jamestown Colony Group. You understand? This is something y'all don't know. This book right here is called Before the Mayflower, A History of the Negro in America from 1619 to 1964 by Leron Bennett Jr. What's so important about this? Well, because a lot of the early explorers and people who came to America were free black men who were coming from these different countries that we were ruling. You understand? I'm going to read you an excerpt from this book. It says, an estimated 1 million of these Negroes found their way to the land that became the United States of America. But the first black immigrants, Anthony, Isabella, and the Jamestown group, were not slaves. This is a fact of capital importance. Now, meaning what? That the Jamestown group was founded and ruled by black men. You understand? Who were not slaves. They were free men. It says, this is a fact of capital importance in the history of the American Negro. They came, these first black men, the same way many, perhaps most, of the first white men came, under duress and pressure. They found a system of indentured servitude. Indentured servants come from us. That's another system that we created, which enabled, check this out, poor white men to come to America and sell their services for a stipulated number of years to planters. Now, here's something else you got to know. What you're going to find out is that this is a lie. You understand? What you're going to find out is that this wasn't really indentured servitude. These white folks were enslaved.
Right.
You understand? I forget if this author's a brother or if it's a devil. I think it's a devil. I'm going to get back to you on the author. Now, check this out. It says it enabled poor white men to come to America and sell their services. Under this system, thousands of whites, hear this good, thousands of whites, paupers, ne'er-do-wells, religious dissenters, waifs, prisoners, and prostitutes were shipped to the colonies and sold to the highest bidder. Some were sold as the first Negroes were sold by the captains of ships. Meaning what? These were slaves. You understand? We had white people in slavery all throughout these times. And you want to hear something? That's where they belong.
Right.
You understand? That's their purpose. The elder was always supposed to serve the younger. You understand? Some were sold as the first Negroes were sold by the captains of ships. Some were kidnapped on the streets of London and Bristol as the first Negroes were kidnapped in Africa. You understand? Wow. Meaning what? They were slaves in Jamestown. Now, let me show you another picture. This picture goes all the way back to 1402. This is what the British court system looked like. What you're going to see is that these judges at the top are all black men. And when you come down to the bottom, you'll see black bailiffs in court chaining these white men to the post to get their judgment with their shirt off, their hair all wild, looking like cavemen. But Talk, pass this book around so they can see this.
Okay. Slice, correctly?
Good.
What book was that stated that Jamestown was founded by Negroes?
Before the Mayflower. This book is gold. You understand? It's got so much good history in it, man. I haven't even put a dent in it. But this goes for anybody who wants to sit there and say, well, King James was a slave master. Yeah. White slaves. You understand? Straight up and down. So, just to sum this up. One second. Jerusalem was destroyed. Those who were lucky enough fled into Africa. You understand? Those who weren't were taken into captivity. We fought in the arenas. We were servants. We were slaves. By 193 AD, we took over. You understand? We took over, and Servius Septimus and Priscinius Niger became the first black emperors of Rome. We were still ruling even up to the time of Constantine. Because of all the turmoil in the West, Constantine moved his capital over to modern-day Turkey or Istanbul, which was known as the Byzantine Empire. We had that locked down until 1453. After 1453 AD, white people took over Rome all over again, but we were still ruling France, Spain, Germany, and England. You understand? Those that were over in the Byzantine moved from Byzantium and were the ones who started to inhabit those lands. Eventually, also through civil war, we lost our power. White people took over, and then we went back into captivity. You understand? So, King James was black. You understand? Constantine was a brother. You can't get around it. You understand? So, straight up and down, y'all better kill that noise. Y'all better learn some goddamn history. And you understand? That's pretty much the gist of it. The white man's the devil. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean?